Hi, everybody. My name's Mike Warren. I want to welcome you today to our Alternative Health Blab. We're in this great format blab, and we've got an awesome guest with us today that I know you guys are going to love. I've just known him literally a day. Got to meet him yesterday, and just a ball of energy that's unbelievable, and I really hope to learn a little bit from him. As you know, I'm with Alternative Health Concepts. You can go to our website directly under my name right here and find out all about what we have to offer, and hopefully we can help you in attaining health. And that's what we're all about, through alternative means, but also through allopathic means. And there's just really great information on our website that you can learn more about. We also have a product that is an immune boosting product called BioPro Plus, and we just launched on our animal site for our pets, and particularly horses to begin with, BioEqualizer. So go online and find out about both of those products and how they can help you regain your health. So on to our guest and on to the good things today. We have with us in studio Tim Brownson. Pardon me for your name mispronunciation there. Tim is a life coach, and he's a certified life coach. We'll get into that. He's got all kinds of certifications. It was probably about 10 or 15 different things that I saw there. But he's been a life coach for 10 years. He's the author of 9 books, over 1,500 self-development articles he's written, so obviously he's a prolific writer. And what we're going to be talking a little bit about today is about relieving stress. It's a major component to all of our health. We live in a very stressful time. And are you guys hearing that echo real quick? Maybe not. Maybe it's just me.
No, there's no echo, mate.
Okay, great. Also, when I saw on your website, Tim, I saw that you have your work has been seen by over 3 million people all around the world. So in those 10 years, you've obviously been really busy. You've learned a lot. And I want to, again, thank you for being with us today and welcome you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, go on, Mike.
No, what I would like you to do is kind of take off where I did, but tell us about yourself. Tell us your story. What got you here? Obviously, it's not everybody becomes a life coach, and it looks like you almost didn't really even want to be a life coach. It just kind of happened. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Well, first of all, that's very true. And those figures are a little bit out of date now because it's more like 5 million views and 2,000 articles. But when we designed the site, we've not really changed it. I got into life coaching through stress management because I was a sales manager and earning big bucks in the UK and working for corporate UK, which is not really a lot different to corporate America. And I know that because I've worked for corporate America as well. And I started reading about stress management and basically stumbled into the field of life coaching. So I did a stress management diploma at Sheffield University in the UK. And then I kind of stumbled into stress management, beg your pardon, life coaching through that. And I then contacted somebody by the name of Curly Martin, who's probably one of the most famous coaches in the UK, maybe even Europe, and said to her, look, I'm thinking of doing this. And you've got to remember now, Mike, this was, you say 10 years, it was actually 11 years ago now. And, life coaching wasn't anything like it was now. It is now. It was very, it was not a familiar term in the public psyche. But it just seemed to offer all the tools that I like with coaching, which was building rapport, asking questions and listening and trying to create solutions to people's problems. So it was a lot of stuff from coaching or sales that I liked, but without any of the BS, which was writing reports and doing cold calls and reporting it into people and all the kind of stuff that anybody that's worked in sales, and that I would imagine most people can imagine. So I did the stress management course. Then thought, oh, I'll do the life coaching course, not because I wanted to be a life coach, but because I thought, okay, this gives me the opportunity to be a better manager, a better support system, because I can then manage people and coach them better. And I did it, and I thought, holy crap, this is awesome. I really like this. So within 3 months of me doing that course, I'm saying 3 months, so about 3 months, I walked away from sales. I walked away from a six-figure salary to set up a life coaching business with absolutely no clue how I was going to make any money or whatsoever. So fortunately, I had a very supportive wife. Not so fortunately, but kind of fortunately, my dad had passed away and left us some money. Not a massive amount by any stretch of imagination, 30 grand, but enough to make me think, oh, I can get this up and running in that time, that with that money. And that's how it all started. And that was, like I said, that was 11 years ago now. And I wouldn't say I've never looked back since. That would be a lie. I've looked back loads of times because I know I could have earned a lot more money in sales. But I love what I do now.
So let me stop you. Let me stop you there, because this whole thing for me, I've heard about life coaches. I've heard about this. I've never had a life coach. I've had a lot of people that I consider mentors, and they've kind of acted like life coaches. But let's talk about, because there's, and particularly on Blab, I see there's a ton of people that are quote unquote life coaches. Mm-hmm. But what does that actually mean? I mean, I want to talk, and we're going to talk today about stress and how to help alleviate stress in our life. That's part of what you do, but that's only a fine part. What does a person like me, is heavily stressed, trying to start a business, get it going? What do I need you for? What would you do for me? Okay, well, I think it's more important that we start off with what life coaches don't do or shouldn't do if they're professional, what they're doing. And it's not my job, Mike, to tell you what to do with your life. So that's the first thing. You know your life and your circumstances a lot better than I do. So in that respect, it's not my job to do that. My job is to help you think differently. So to me, and I train life coaches. To me, the key is what asking a question is going to help you to think differently about a subject. Because if I can't help you think differently, then nothing else changes. So really, what do you want me for? Well, you want me because I'll spot your blind spots that you won't see. So I've got my own life coach. I've had a life coach. So I've been a life coach 11 years now. Probably 6 years of those 11, I've had a life coach of my own. And that's because I know I still have my own blind spots, and we don't recognize those. We don't, people will point them out to us, and it's no good asking family and friends, because they always have their own agenda and what they want to achieve for us, and so on and so forth. So a life coach is somebody that comes in that's got no agenda, that really just wants to help the person involved, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that really sort of devalues the whole project in some respects, but it's about helping you to think differently about things. Because if you think the same all the time, then guess what? You're going to get the same results. Yeah, exactly. So I know that you were in sales, and obviously you were in a really heavily stressed position. Because I did that for 20 years. I was in sales, and before I did this, we kind of all evolved out of sales somewhere point, but we're always selling something. So what exactly are some of the techniques that you help people with, specifically with stress? What are some of the things that we can do to help alleviate that?
Yeah, I think, there's so many different things. First of all, you've got to understand what stress is. So we've got to go right the way back to the beginning, Mike, to answer that, with any authenticity. And the first thing is, stress is a fear response. So you've got to accept that if you're stressed, you're fearful about something.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't accept that, then whatever, nothing's gonna help you, because there isn't any situation where you can't replace the word stress with fear. Just doesn't exist. So because stress comes from the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system is triggered by the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system in the brain, and the amygdala is on the lookout for danger. So it spots danger, and it may be asking for a date, it may be asking for a raise at work, it may be any number of things. It may be going into a bar where you don't feel like you're comfortable or whatever. So then basically what happens is our sympathetic nervous system kicks into play. It triggers the stress response, which then delivers cortisol and adrenaline, which are the major two stress hormones. And when that happens, it's very, very difficult to shut down, very difficult to quiet down, because both those hormones are designed to hype you up. There's a good reason for stress. Stress allows us to focus. It allows us to develop tunnel vision. It allows us to move into that fight or flight where our muscles fill with blood or whatever, even though we may not need that. Because even though we may have, and you may have heard it ringing, and I apologize, I've got an iPhone 6 here, but it's operating on iOS 8 or 9 or whatever it is now, but our brains are still on iOS 1.1.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we've been around for hundreds of thousands of years, but really put 30,000 years from a civilized standpoint, and the brain just doesn't evolve at the same rate, or it evolves in layers. So what happens is we get our prefrontal cortex or neocortex, which is the top layer, that sort of rigid bit, and but that's trying to manage things lower down that are more ingrained in our psyche. So there's this fear response that comes up, and it's very difficult to manage that unless we understand what's going on. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, or whether I've just rambled on for 5 minutes for nothing.
No, actually, that's great. I'm hearing a lot of feedback, so I don't know if people are in the audience. Anybody in the room can jump in real quick and just tell me? Okay, well, it must just be feedback on everything. I was going to try and hold on just a minute. If you can, just hold the room. I'm going to refresh. Kim's hearing a bad echo, so let me just refresh. Just stay right. Okay, so we're back. For those of you who just had a little a commercial break, if you will, had to get our sound going right. It wasn't quite working right. I don't hear it either now from either side, Kim's saying, so I'm assuming everything's good. Thanks, Kim, for that. So where we're at was, what I wanted to start to say is, with what you just said about the stress is actually a good thing. If you look at it from the one perspective that I heard you talking about, it actually allows us to focus and do some of those things that we really need to do to go through. So at what point in what you've done does stress become bad? At what point does that stress overcome us and cause us to go into depression, can cause illness? We know that there's stress can actually cause cancer, we found out through research. So at what point does a person like me know that I got to do something about my stress load?
I think when stress becomes chronic, and when it's, so there's, most people will know there's a good form of stress, and that's called eustress. And if I sound a bit slurry now, it's because I can't hear my own voice, and it sounds a very weird thing. But anyway, so there's eustress, and eustress is where we actually stress our body intentionally, and then we allow it to recover. So eustress will be going to the gym. So nobody gets to the gym and forgets to get off for 20 years. But people do get stressed and permeate through their life for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're stressed on a regular basis. So I think that's when it becomes a real issue. I think stress in and of itself isn't a problem. There's a a great book by Kelly McGonigal, PhD, called The Upside of Stress, where she talks about a lot of the issues with stress or what people believe about it. And I think it opens a really interesting set of questions about what really is stress and what isn't. And I think so for me, I meditate every morning for half an hour. I'll do a meditation, and I've got a condition called generalized anxiety disorder, which is fairly common. And I've had it since I was about 13, when I was originally diagnosed with it, and I picked it up from my mum, and I picked my sense of humour up from her, so I'm not knocking her. And sometimes I can, we've had a lot of issues recently because my mother-in-law passed away and she had pancreatic cancer, and before that, my wife had a lot of flights back to England and what have you, and we racked up a lot of debt of bills for flights and what have you. And suddenly I sat down one day and then realised we got to renew our green card because it was 10 years since we moved to the US and it was another $900. And I thought I was going to have a panic attack. And I just said to myself, okay, sit down and meditate. And I did, and I've got a chair there that I use, and I could feel it melt away. So I think, stress it's not real, it doesn't exist. You can't grab it. There's no such thing called stress. What stresses you may not stress the next person. Therefore, it's not, when people say this job's stressful, it's nonsense. No, it's not. You mean it's stressful for you. And because it goes, there is no cause and effect with stress. It's cause interpretation effect. So cause, this happened, therefore it means this to me, therefore I'm going to feel like this. So the guy cut me off in the traffic and he gave me the finger. This means that I feel so bad about myself, therefore I'm going to burst into tears. And that definitely didn't happen to me 2 days ago. That's not an example I'm using. So it's like, how do we deal with it? It's like, stress isn't a thing. There is no thing called stress. It's just a viewpoint that we adopt. Yeah. And I think once we understand that, and we understand that it's a fear response, I think we can start to change our view of stress. When we realise, I'm just scared about something. Mm-hmm. I'm scared about, this might mean I might lose my job, or this might mean that my kids won't like me, or this might mean that I'll not get this report on time, and I'll get a bollocky, to use an English phrase, or whatever. That's really what stress is. It's fear. So I could, let's suppose I was coming to do this podcast for you today, or this whatever, and my car broke down, and I'll be thinking, Max. So my fear is that I'm going to let Mac down because I promised him I'd do it, and he's going to look silly. He's going to be in front of an audience of people, and he's going to look stupid, and I'm going to feel bad about that or whatever. So it's a fear response, and we say, I'm stressed because I need to get home to do this. What we mean is I'm fearful because I need to do this.
Okay, so let me just kind of put that into perspective, at least from my way of thinking it. So if I'm walking through the woods and all of a sudden a bear decides he wants to come at me, I'm going to be scared. And obviously that can equate to stress. I'm stressing. All of a sudden, I'm literally afraid for my life. And at that point, the fight or flight kicks in, like you said. I'm going to fight this guy, or I'm going to run like hell to get away. And that in itself, either way, is going to relieve my stress, I think. So I'm either going to fight the bear or fight whatever's scaring me, or I'm going to run from it and get rid of it. Either way, I'm alleviating the stress. Is that true?
Third response, there's three responses. You hear about the fight or flight. It's really flight or freeze. And nothing. and people just either procrastinate or just roll into a ball, and that's more associated with depression and things like that. But yeah, with a bear, Mike, I want to use the F word to say that's what you are. Because with a bear, you're not going to out you're not going to swim it. If it wants to have you, it's going to have you, mate. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much adrenaline you've got coursing through your veins. You're not going to beat, 6'7" grizzly bear or whatever. So yeah, it's exactly that. Really, it's like the fight or flight is designed for preservation.
Yeah.
That just like the fight, flight, or freezes. The freezes, sometimes freezing and doing nothing is the best response. Actually, with a bear, I believe that is the best response.
Absolutely, makes sense.
For you, and it may eat you.
Yeah.
But if you run away, it definitely is going to paw you and eat you. If you try and climb a tree, it's going to paw you, eat you, and then throw you out of a tree. So.
I don't know what it was, but I had an experience a few months back where I was sitting here working on my computer, and I had a lot of issues going on in my head. I was really stressed, and I felt my blood pressure. I felt really, really odd, just like everything was going crazy in my body all of a sudden. So, I got up, took a deep breath, and I literally walked around the block a few times. I came back, and all those feelings were gone. I felt fine. So, we talk about on our website, because we deal with a lot of people that have chronic illness, and we talk about some of the important things that you need to do. You need to exercise. You need to get proper sleep. I guess what you said is stress is part of the parasympathetic. What did you say? Parasympathetic nervous system. So for our nervous system to work right, we've got to have
parasympathetic nervous system, which dampens stress. So in the parasympathetic,
Yeah. So for that to work right in our body, we've got to not only take care of our body physically, but what we put in it nutritionally. All those different things are factors that play into that. So I'm assuming that just like any chronic illness, if we take care of our bodies and we give it proper rest, if we put the proper nutrition in it, we get the proper exercise, we do those things that we know, we meditate for our mind, we free ourselves from certain things, we must be able to control that and manage it. I mean, I don't know that we even really want to control it, because it sounds like there's some really good components to stress, but we want to manage it.
Yeah, exactly, we do. And you bang on, we do want to manage it. And you also bang on in terms of, meditation dampens the sympathetic nervous system and encourages the parasympathetic nervous system. So every time we breathe in, we trigger the sympathetic nervous system. Every time we breathe out, we trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. That's why our blood pressure and pulse rate go up and down like that. They don't stay static. It's because it's either the parasympathetic nervous system or the sympathetic nervous system that's in control. And this is happening hundreds of times a day.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I encourage people to do that struggle with stress a lot is to make their exhale longer than their inhale. Because when you exhale, you kickstart the parasympathetic nervous system. So when people have a panic attack, for example, anybody here that's had a panic attack will have thought they were probably dying the first time they had it. Probably thought they were having a heart attack. And it's a very disturbing situation for anybody doing it for the first time. But the reason why they give you the brown paper bag is because what's happening is you're actually taking in too much oxygen. And it's basically heightening the symptoms. So what happens is when you do the brown paper bag, you breathe in some of the carbon dioxide. So and that slows everything down. It slows the parasympathetic nervous system down. So we want to do that. I mean, exercise is great because it releases beta endorphins, and beta endorphins are fantastic at killing stress. I mean, they really are. And
what releases those endorphins that you just said? Okay.
Yeah. So if you go and do a 30-minute workout, you're going to release a lot of beta endorphins. And beta endorphins are fantastic at reducing stress and calming stress. And it's not, we all get stressed, Mike. And this is the thing. People think they shouldn't live a life of stress. They should be aiming for that. No, you shouldn't. It's so if you think about Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi wrote the book Flow. And Flow, most people have heard of the book Flow, even if they're not familiar with Csikszentmihalyi. And his work, he was one of the grandfathers, along with Martin Seligman, of positive psychology. And flow is where we get to that perfect peak of stress and non-stress. In other words, to really achieve our best work, there has to be some stress involved.
Mm-hmm.
People who've got no stress in their lives are normally highly depressed.
Yeah.
Normally, it results in there's no stress because they're totally depressed.
Oh, interesting. Never thought of it that way. I always thought it was the stress that caused the depression. That makes total sense.
Not with severe sort of severe depression. It's usually that they're not stressed. Because we need stress to get us out of bed in the morning. We need stress to think, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to look after the kids, I've got to get to work, and whatever. And so all that is stress, all that is fear, all that is things that are getting our blood supply going, and so on and so forth. So, that we need it. We need it in our lives. And to try and dismiss it and say, let's get rid of it is foolish. It doesn't work.
That really makes a lot of sense to me, and I've never ever heard it expressed that way. I knew I was going to learn some good things today, and that's one of them, because I always thought, kind of in my head anyway, that stress was the enemy, and then we do all these things to take away the stress. I think it's what I've learned today, and my big aha moment of this whole meeting would be that we need to learn to manage stress. Stress is our friend. We just need to learn how to manage it.
It can be. So if you go to the gym, you're stressing your body. You're putting your body under stress. You raise your heart rate. You do exactly what happens when the stress response kicks in. You raise your heart rate, you raise your blood pressure, and you start to sweat. You think about it. Anybody that's think about when you're really stressed about something, and then when you're working out, the symptoms are the same.
Yep.
Except you're not tired, maybe, if you're waiting for a job interview, whatever. You don't want to just turn off the treadmill. But the symptoms are the same. But one's called eustress and the other's called stress. And really, it's because with eustress, we know when to turn it off. I'm tired, therefore I'm stopping the treadmill.
Exactly. Interesting. All right, so let's get back a little bit, kind of not shift gears away from the stress so much, but what you do, and by the way, your website's really nice. I signed up, and for those of you that haven't looked at it yet, go to Tim's website. He's got some free books that you can get by signing up for his blog, and just great articles. I got your book, and the first one anyway. I think you spread it out over a couple weeks, which is smart. Just to give the audience a little bit insight about you, I really like this. It says, warning. This is out of Tim's book, by the way. It says, warning. Before you get into all that juicy good stuff, though, let me add a word of warning. If you are easily offended by the occasional swear word, poor grammar, or run-on sentences, stop reading now and go have a lie down. This book contains a smattering of such abominations, and I don't want you fainting in shock when you stumble across the F-bomb or a poorly constructed sentence. So enough with the preamble. If you're ready to set yourself some big fat hair audacious goals, then you can actually hit. Let's get going. So that says a lot to me about you, and I really like that, Tim, because it's no nonsense. It's, hey, that's who we are. We don't need to be politically correct with any of this BS that we call stress or even life. Life can get away from us, and I think that's where you come into play in helping center us, or maybe bring us back to a manageable point in our life. So talk a little bit about if somebody feels like they need your services, take us through what that means. What does that entail?
Oh wow! Well, first of all, thank you for that. And you know, I have a tendency to polarize people, and I do it. I'd like to say I do it deliberately, but I really don't. I just like to talk in my own voice. So if you met me for a beer or for a coffee or whatever, you wouldn't walk away thinking, "Oh my God, he's nothing like I thought he was from his blog." So I tend to use the F-bomb in my blog and what have you. Just because that's how I talk. It's real life, and I know some people won't get that. People that come to me, really, there's just a sense of stuckness, a sense of feeling like, you know, so I'm right on the cusp of baby boomer / Gen X. You know, I like to pretend I'm Gen X, and people tell me I'm a baby boomer because I'm 53, and I think, you know, even more so now with millennials, you know, they've been told all the time that they can have what they want. And because of that, they've got a somewhat a lack of patience, somewhat a lack of, almost a lack of belief in themselves, because it feels like it should happen now and overnight, and when that doesn't happen, then that can be detrimental. So, you know, a lot of the people that come to me, so my average client is probably closer to 45 than 25, if I'm being honest. And it's people that look around, and just like I did, Mike, you know, I was 42 when I took up coaching, and I got to a point in life where I was making a lot of money and thinking, holy shit, I'm really unhappy. Mm. You know, I spent, the last year I spent in sales, I spent £15,000, which is probably about $22,000, whatever, on vacations. You know, I spent £4,000, so $6,500, just to go for a long weekend to watch the Rams play to play the Arizona Cardinals.
Nice.
I had a good bonus, and we won, by the way. It was the game where Kurt Warner was playing for Cardinals. He fumbled the last play of the game. You may know that. Everybody else will be bored senseless now about that. But it was so hot that day. That was before they moved to the new stadium. But I would do that just like to try and recover. And you kind of do recover for a short period of time, but it doesn't last. You know, it really doesn't last. So, you know, what I try to do with clients and like to do with clients is help them make change that has some meaning and that lasts for them, that is going to, something they can do. So I don't work long-term with clients. I do a year's package with clients, but very rarely, you know, I only take 4 or 5 clients on a year like that. For the most part, I work very quickly. It's because I want to, you know, it's like the whole teach a man to fish and, you know, feed him for a lifetime or give him a fish and feed him for the day or whatever. It's a little bit like that. And I just like, you know, to really get people up and running on their own, not to try and develop some codependent relationship or a relationship where they're dependent on me and they can't make a decision without me. I'm not interested in that. It really doesn't, you know, it doesn't stand ground for me at all. I want people to, you know, hopefully be the best person they can. I know it sounds a bit cliched, and it really does. Yeah, I'm listening to myself, and I've listened to myself back through interviews before and thought, God, you sound like, you know, you are really cliche. But, you know, by the same token, you know, it's important to me to give people the tools to be the best person that they can be without needing to worry about rehiring me or so on and so forth. Looks like Wayne's joined us.
Yeah, and Wayne is my partner and happens to help us. He had another meeting, so he just jumped in here. Hi, Wayne. Welcome. Glad to have you today.
Hi, Tim. How are you? Hi, Mike.
Hi. Doing great.
Enjoying it.
So, typically, now I know you're in Orlando. I'm in Southern California. None of this needs to be done in person, or or does it, or does some component need to be done in person?
I used to do just one-on-one coaching only for my first 3 or 4 years, and I've got 3 Dobermans, and you may have seen 1 or 2.
Yeah, it did.
Move behind me as I'm talking, and it really is a pain in the ass to keep them under control when I have a client come to my house. I do it for some VIP clients where they'll come maybe for the weekend or whatever, but as a rule, it's, there's nothing other than, because I used to be a hypnotherapist, so I'm a certified hypnotherapist, but I wouldn't do that on Skype. I think simply because I need to be able to pull people back if something's going wrong. I need to be able to, snap them out of it or whatever. And sometimes, that may not be able to do that on Skype. And I don't want having somebody having a panic attack 3,000 miles away while I'm talking on Skype. So I think it's a little bit irresponsible to do certain types of hypnosis. Sometimes some parts of it are okay, but certain types of it on Skype. So for me, it's, there's very little. I've had clients in Orlando itself, no more than 10 miles away from me, where we've just done face-to-face, either Skype or just on the phone. Most of the stuff we can do chatting and so forth. So
you mentioned the hypnotherapist. You also are a certified practitioner of linguistic programming.
Yes.
What is that? What is neuro-linguistic programming?
I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm a master practitioner of neuro twice over, which just sounds arrogant now. So
that's okay.
Neuro-linguistic programming was something that was developed by Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who were both. John Grinder was a professor of linguistics at Santa Cruz University, and Bandler was a maths graduate, and they got together and they looked, and basically they modelled 3 of the most successful practitioners of the time, and they were Virginia Satir, who was probably the greatest family practitioner, social practitioner of all time, Eric Erickson, or Milton Erickson, who was probably the greatest hypnotherapist / psychotherapist of all time, and then Fritz Perls, who invented Gestalt therapy. And they modelled them, and basically they watched them for hours and hours and tried to study what was it that they did that other people in their fields didn't do, and could they replicate it? And they found that they could. And Bandler went on to be an absolutely brilliant hypnotherapist. John Grinder went on to be a fantastic speaker, trainer, and so on and so forth. And a lot of the terms were a lot of it was hijacked by Tony Robbins. And anybody that's read Awaken the Giant Within, none of those techniques in that book were his. They were all Bandlers and Grinders, but he changed the name to it because they were arguing at the time they'd fallen out, and they were arguing in court over who owned NLP, the rights to NLP. It turned out that the judge threw it out and said nobody owns the rights. But I think Robbins called it neuro something conditioning, neuro-emotional conditioning or something. I can't remember now. And I'm pretty sure he did that because he didn't want to get his books recalled off the shelf.
Sure.
Trademark or copyright or whatever. And he did a great job, and I'm not knocking, by the way, of marketing it. But he took NLP to the masses. So some of the stuff so people that are familiar with Tony Robbins, he really took NLP and delivered it to the masses just under a different name or just a little bit more generic.
Hi, Stephanie.
So, how do you apply that to a person or an individual like me who I was using that? How does that help me, so to speak? What is the process?
I think that's a really complicated question, Mike, because it really depends on the issue that was going on. So there are So there's the neuro side and the linguistic side. So the neuro side is very much the flashbang wallet where we make quick changes, and I can help you get rid of I can help most people remove a phobia within about 25 minutes.
Wow.
I can help people remove a strong fear, and fears and phobias are not the same thing. A strong fear, at least reduce it in about a similar amount of time, a little bit longer. Strangely enough, fears are a little bit harder to deal with than phobias are. But with the linguistic side of it, it's more about understanding the structure, the surface structure, and the deep structure of language. So when a client says to me something, like everybody knows that such and such, well, what does everybody mean? And now it's called the meta model of language. You're into sleight of mouth with NLP, so I don't want to get too complicated more people, but it's like, oh, what's that really mean? It's like, so it's understanding what language means. So I think probably the best example that most people may be familiar with is clean language. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? And how does that work in real life? And
Gotcha.
And so on and so forth. So with clients, to me, it's phenomenally useful. The language side of it, that's why I did the hypnotherapy, because hypnotherapy language is very, very powerful. Very powerful.
Interesting. So I don't know if there's anybody that has any questions. I think there's, for the most part, everybody's been here. That's some people dropping in and out. We're talking about with Tim Brownson today about life coaching and how a coach like he can help people understand. I think it's more stress is only one little component. Obviously, it's more about becoming a whole person, maybe, or just maybe just getting focus about a certain area. I mean, we all are focused in certain parts of our life, and maybe we let another part of our life go. And maybe is that what you kind of help gather all those pieces together and help make that person more whole?
I think that's a really good way of describing it, Mike. At the end of the day, I have a life coach, and you think, well, I train life coaches, and I've been life coaching for almost 11 years. Why would you need a life coach? Well, the matter is that for the reasons you just said, that I still let things drop. I still have blind spots. There's things that I don't spot. I'm not necessarily from a life coaching perspective, but I'm a very proficient copywriter, and so I'll write copy for a website for myself or whatever. And somebody will say to me, I can't believe you put that in that, and I'm like, oh, if a client had done that, I'd have been all over them and said, what are you doing? But we don't tend to spot our own mistakes. And there's a great book out there called Blind Spots. And it's about the fact that we're very poor at spotting our own mistakes, but very good at spotting other people's.
And
that's not from an arrogant point of view. Do you know what I mean? It's just how it is. It's just life.
Yeah, I think that's in our subconscious. We usually tend to fool ourselves about certain things, that we're doing everything all right, and when in reality we're not. And I think a third party looking at that objectively is what really makes a difference, and probably where you come in and really can make a big impact on somebody's life, I would think. Not ever having one myself, so I might be a good candidate to talk further. Yeah, exactly. Plus, I'd like to get on some of you mentioned to me yesterday, and I didn't see it on your website. It might have been, but I didn't get through the whole thing. Something about a podcast that you guys do regularly. Is that only with friends, or is that just is that something that's public, or is that just friends?
Well, it is public, but I don't. It's called rawvoicespodcast.com, and there's a lot of swearing in it, a lot of juvenile behaviour. My French friend who co-hosts it, Olivier, who my wife thinks has got the sexiest accent in the world. Whatever. And we've had some really good guests on it. We've had James Altucher, for those of you that know him. We've had Olivia Bertman, who had a best-selling book on happiness. We've had Dan Gilbert, not Dan Gilbert, Dan Harris, who 10% Happy, who's the ABC, not ABC, CNBC, whatever, Anchorman. And we've got some really great guests on it. We've had a really good time, but some of the best times we've had have been people that are not really that well known.
Yeah. No, that's fun. That's fun stuff, though. And once again, it's I love podcasts, by the way, and I find myself like I'll download them, and when I do my walking, I have 3 days a week. I walk for an hour, and I just throw on my headsets and I listen to these podcasts. It was Raw Voices
podcast.com.
Rawvoicespodcast.com.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
But not safe for work.
Huh? Probably not safe at work. Okay. That's my kind of podcast. I'm there. I'm going to be there. How often you do it? Once a week or once a month? Or what do you think?
We've done 3 weeks on a trot. Tomorrow we did another. It'll be the third week on a trot. But there's a rule about every 2 weeks. That's common for us to do about every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
We had a guy on who is a climatologist predicting the end of the world within the next 2 or 3 years. There's this apparently there's this massive methane bubble underneath the Pacific Ocean, 10 gigaton. And if and when that ever releases, it's inevitable, it will do. And it got all the math behind it and whatever. He said that's going to warm the temperature of the Earth up by 4 degrees in a year, and that will just create such chaos.
Interesting.
It was quite depressing. But then I thought, well, that means I can just drink as much as I want. I don't need to worry about 401k. Fantastic.
Yeah, right. End of the world, everybody's all good. Just live like it's tomorrow. Yeah, and there's some truth to be that. I mean, live today in the moment. You can't really live for the future. So, I mean, there's probably some good advice in there somewhere, I would think. Well, we're almost getting to the top of the hour here. What if there's anybody that wants to sit in the seat, feel free to jump in and ask Tim any questions you might have, or myself, or whatever. Wanted to take just a moment here and acknowledge that Alternative Health Concepts is the company that we have that love you to go to our website if you've enjoyed this material. Look at some of the products that we have that'll help your health, and sign up for our blog and get the great information that we send out 3 times a week. We send out a blog to our subscribers talking all about alternative health. So that's what we're about, alternative methods to help heal your body. We believe that your body is the only thing that can heal itself. No amount of subscription or prescription synthetic drugs are going to heal your body. You have to get your immune system working properly to get it back in homeostasis or normality in your body. So enough of the commercial from our side. Tim, wrap it up for us in a nutshell. Why you do what you do as far as helping people, and why you could be a benefit to anybody, particularly somebody like me or whoever.
No, I'm not sure that I want to say why I can be a benefit to anybody, Mike. Okay. Why do I do what I do? Because I love it. Yeah, awesome. I've been stayed in sales and still be. I earned more in sales last year, which was 11 years ago. This year, I may touch it. I may get close to it. So that's 11 years it's taken me to get up for that. But I love what I do. I just, I'm happy doing what I do. After I've done with you, I've got a client actually at 5 o'clock, but I may take the dogs out for a walk. I may, just chill and relax. And my wife was getting home. It was our 20th wedding anniversary yesterday, so we went out for. Congratulations!
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. And I had a bit of a hangover this morning, so I just think I've got to the point in life at 53 where it's more about less about things and more about memories, more about what did you do that really made you smile, that really made you laugh. And that it doesn't matter. You may have a fantastic car on the driveway. It's like just to status simple. It's simple. It's not really that important. What's important is the memories you've got, the people you've got to talk to and so on and so forth. We went out with our best friends last night and we had a fantastic meal, and it was just brilliant. And to me that is worth $1,000 that you would
absolutely
to go on a vacation or whatever. Where it wouldn't be. If you gave us a bill of $1,000, I'd be like, whoa, hang on a minute, we're down to Mexico.
Yeah, right.
But it's just, so it's kind of like enjoy your life, but understand what it is that helps you enjoy it. I think that's the thing. It's like, don't blink yourself because society says, well, I need this, and I need this, and I need this education, and I need to go to this job, and I need to do this, and I need to do this before I can be happy. It's bullshit. You can be happy wherever you are, doing whatever you want. So I think it's just really try to and enjoy your life and have fun without being silly, without thinking that involves ridiculous amounts of alcohol and drugs, which I did in my 20s, by the way. It doesn't work. Trust me, it doesn't work.
And you know what?
Water. Sorry.
Yeah. Cheers. From my perspective, neither do the material things. And you can be addicted to accumulating material things, just like you can be to booze or drugs or whatever it may be, whatever your vice may be. But none of that in the end is going to make you happy.
No.
Finding out who you are and what your purpose in life is really what's going to make you happy. And I with that said,
meaning doing stuff that really makes you feel like you're making an impression on people's lives. That's what makes you happy. Whenever they do studies on people in the workplace, there's two things that are always at the top. And one is feeling appreciated, and the other one is doing meaningful work. And money always comes third. Yeah, a lot of big businesses can't get their head around that. It's all about to them the money. Like if we give bigger bonuses or whatever. So I think it's doing things that are meaningful to you, where you feel like it doesn't matter whether you're I'm taking Florida now, whether you're a Publix checkout girl or you're an attorney, you can still make a difference to people's lives by smiling, by being happy, by being chatty and what have you. We all have the ability to make other people's lives better than they are. And
absolutely.
The moment you forget that is the moment you've died inside, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a great way to end it. And I just really appreciate you being here. And I think that that says it all. Be happy, help other people. And what a great place this world would be if we could all do that.
Absolutely.
It's so simple, but yet it seems so ominous. It just seems like it's impossible, but it starts with that simple little smile. Yeah. Just make somebody happy today and go out and do that, and the world will be such a better place. Tim, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Wayne, thanks for joining us. Just really appreciated having you.
I didn't get a chance to talk to Wayne more, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I apologize, but we had nothing but internet issues here, so I was in and out because of this.
No need to apologize.
I watched the replay.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this is that we will have a replay here shortly. We'll be able to see that, and people that missed it or that happen to subscribe can watch the replay also. So thank you again for being here, and we'll catch you next week.